I'm going to turn on some lights and then we'll get going. It's not yet requiring lights, but it will soon. Well, not many people are saying anything in chat, but it seems like there are people here. I am in Pacific time, but I'm also a little bit north. So that's why it is almost 9 p.m. and the sun is still up. Okay. When we left off, we had this situation where these animations that should not loop are looping, so that's the first thing. And that's not really a bug, it's just that we didn't get to that yet. Right? The old system handled this, but the new system doesn't have the capability to express that yet. So we're going to fix that. Although that's a weird animation this guy's playing. Oh, it's because he doesn't have one, right? Anyway. So we have to take care of that. But when I started doing this at the end of the last stream, I was like, oh, but you don't want to wait till exactly the end of the previous animation because you want to crossfade the animations, because that's what animation systems do, is they blend things. So, you want to, like if I'm walking and I blend into idle like that, right? Seems to go into it really fast right now for some reason. Let me slow down time. So if I'm walking and I switch, I don't know. He's coming out of idle, going back in. Ooh. So, it's animation systems. Anyway, so what I decided to do was, instead of trying to call like a thing when the animation is done, we're going to have a per frame update that looks at some more properties of the node and can, for example, transition into the default out arc before, with a non-zero blend time before that animation ends. Is there a community of the same people watching your stream every time? Well, there's some people who tend to be here a lot. I doubt that anybody is here every time. It would be a lot of streams. Did I make the art and animations for the project? No, somebody else is doing those things. I happen to know what Casey is talking about, and let me just say that Gmail does some things that are very bad, that are way worse than a normal email system would. Let's put it that way. Okay. So what I'm going to do is, on this arc that we had, if message is empty, this must be the when done arc. All right. And then we're going to say outro time is a float that's equal to O.2 by default, 0.2 seconds. The amount of time before the end of the previous animation. Let's make it 0.15. Switch states and switch nodes and begin the crossfade. Right. Okay, so that's fine. And then I'm going to come down here, and in addition to, so we have this, whoops, what's the message thing? We have this send message, and we also want to have per frame update. And before I do this, since I'm going to want to put in a call to this from elsewhere, I am going to clean up a thing that was happening before, where okay, this thing. I'm going to make human animation graph at the start of the game, so I don't have to worry about it. Because if I only ever had to initialize it here, it's not that terrible to do that. But if I have to initialize it from many places, that's not good. So we're going to go into main. I'm going to say, well, there's just this thing called human animation graph, and init game sets it up somewhere. All right, so that's good. So now, I have a separate file for this. All right. So in this file is a lot of the things that happen every frame. And okay, so we have an update animation. All right. So this is specifically, all right, specifically for the actual animation playing part. So we want to update the animation graph. Okay, so animation graph per frame update. If it's a guy, for now, because only guys have animation graphs. Animation graph per frame update of human animation graph. Is that what it was called? Oops. Yeah. Human animation graph, and the guy dot what's it called? Animation state. All right. Well, let's also pass the animation player. Oh, geez. This is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting. Yeah, okay. So we're going to put this back in the graph stuff, even though most of the code in the following routine should probably be factored out of this file because it is mostly nothing to do with us. All right, so we're going to define this. Got a human animation state, players, and animation player. All right, so we need to find the channel playing the currently active animation. Maybe we should have a more formal way to designate this. You know, the way that the channels work, well, is that we add them to an ordered array on the end of the animation player, and the last channel is sort of the currently active thing. This is not going to hold anymore. Let me at least abstract it. Channel get primary animation player if no channel return. All right, so and let's put this in animation player because, yeah. So get primary animation channel we're just going to say for in reverse order channels if it.type is equal to, and right now we only have animation channels. We're not introducing animation IK channels or anything, but whatever. Return it and return null. So we're just picking the last channel, and we'll hit null if we have no animation channels, or no channels at all. Okay, so let's just make sure that compiles. It doesn't. Oh, because we're returning here animation channel. Okay, argument 2 wanted pointer to human animation state. Right. Variable speed is used here, but shadowed later in the same block. Really? What? That's a bug. That's got to be a compiler bug. Shadowed later in the same block. It certainly is not. It's the shadowing declaration is earlier, man. Why are you? Yeah. Really? All right. Well, we're going to factor this out. That's a bug. And oh yeah, it's pose channel. I'll fix that bug later. Let me go into the to-do. So to-do, putting this code at the top of update animation causes ifs to get confused about where in the program text they are reading to use before declare problems. You see what my life is like? All right. It's fine. We're going to work around it by just... Frickin' Emacs never... blah, blah, blah. All right. I'll go back here and get the code from here. It's fine. We're just going to put it here for now. Oh, it didn't matter. That is so weird. I'm going to have to fix a compiler bug. No, I don't have to. Here's what I'm going to do. Or at bug fix me if is getting confused about where speed is declared, so I will dig it out for now. So we just declare it first. What? That is so weird. Wow. Why did this start happening now? It's interesting. Compiler bug. That, all right, any questions about anything? Why does the if have a hash? Because that's a static if and not a dynamic if. It is a static if. So like I can refer to a field of this struct that, you know, all right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to work around this. I don't want to fix it right now because I don't want to sidetrack myself. So I'm going to comment this out and I'm going to say speed is 1, dead t is 0, if t is monster, dead t equals b.dead. This is simpler anyway. This still may not fix the problem. Now we have it with a different thing. I may just have to fix the problem. That's so weird. Why would this start happening? All right. All right. I want to work on animation, but I suppose the really good workaround would be just to turn off that error for now. But let's not do that. The error is, but shadowed later. Did we finish compiling? Yeah. Let's get rid of our breakpoints, our conditional breakpoints that are making us run slow. All right. So set next statement. A is 23, B is 25. A is the ident, B is a declaration. How are these getting flattened in the opposite order? It must be that this is the first thing in the block. How about if I go dummy. That's not going to help, is it? That's not going to help. Oh, so weird. Why did this not happen the last 100 times that I compiled the game? Oh, I accidentally deleted the relevant code anyway. You know what I'm going to do? Okay, forget it. Here's what I do. Right? That should fix it. Yeah, okay, fine. I'm not going to debug it right now. Basically, I'll explain what's going on though, right? Even though expressions all have positions in the program text, like, you know, when it reports the error, it says, oh, in this line, in this character. That's not necessarily a reliable sequential way of knowing who's really before who logically in the program, because there's a few weird exceptions. So the tree order in which you would visit the syntax tree determines, you know, when who is before whom, because you visit one node before the other node, right? And for some reason, when this static if block resolves, it's inserting these guys into a place where they're happening later than they should, even though they're earlier in the program text, obviously. So it might only take 5 or 10 minutes to fix, but I want to work on animation. I don't want to get sidetracked. Fix me, bug, take the clamp out to see a compiler. So I'll put that there. All right. No, don't want that. All right. So now we can get back to business. I don't even remember what I was doing. Oh, we were doing the per frame update. Oh, I left it. What? I guess I left it here and I was blind. I bet if I had deleted this, it would have stopped happening. That's why it didn't happen the previous 100 times. And I thought I deleted that and I didn't. Okay, per frame update. We're back. We're back in the saddle. So, found a channel. I want to see that every frame. Found a channel. Good. All right. So, channel has this thing called, well, it's got its current time, it's got its animation duration, and it's got an animation. So we're going to say, remaining is channel.animation duration minus channel.current time, right? So that's how long before the end. And we're going to do this stuff again. All right. So now we get the current node, and remember, to the current node, we may have a when done arc, and if we have a when done arc, that arc may have an outro time. So if current node dot, arc is current node dot when done, if arc and arc dot outro time is greater than or equal to remaining, then we want to transit to a new state. So, well, we say delta, what do we say? The thing is, we're always going to see this a little bit late, and based on how long the frame was. Yeah, so we may start a little earlier or later, but let's always yeah. So fade time is always going to be remaining, which is going to be less than or equal to outro time. And we're going to say switch to state, m state, that should be switched to node. All right, so switch to node, m state, and arc.destination. Okay. And let's pass the fade time into there, because that's what sets the animation. So we're going to say, we're going to pass that as a name parameter. Well, let's look at our play animation, because we want to put the fade time into here probably. And like I said, I probably have 2 overloads of play animation. Okay, it's called blend out duration. So make that a named parameter. Here's an interesting thing that there's no way to express in the language. I kind of want to say, if you didn't pass this parameter, or it's equal to its default value, then call this with its default value. So I kind of want to be able to say blend out duration equals default or something, right? I don't have a way to do that right now. Well, if fade time is less than 0, we don't pass it. Else, animation blend out duration equals fade time. What did I do wrong? Comma expected. Oh. Potential loss of information. Right. So my fade time is a float 64, 82. Because these are both double precision timers, right? So cast float 32. All right. Maybe that'll work. I didn't break this stuff, it looks like. Hey, it worked. He transitioned into idle. Dude, this has been the night of stuff working the first time. Not the same time, but the first time. So like, boom, and now he's inactive and he's staying inactive. So sometimes, if I toggle too fast, I get it, you know, like if I'm in active to inactive and I go inactive to active, then I get the default lerp because there isn't an animation defined there. But for the most part, I think things are good. I'm a little confused. The wizard may just be getting confused because we're telling him to play animations that he doesn't have or something. Because like he's staying inactive for a long time. Right, because he doesn't have an active to inactive. So we're asking him to play something that doesn't exist. That's what's happening there. And that probably has a default time of like 3 seconds or something. So that's all going to get handled by logging error messages, and the person in charge of content will be cleaning that stuff up. So this is good. This is like everything that I'd hoped to get done today. And there's hours yet to stream. So let me get rid of the switch to state. Any questions about any of this? Transition to new state based on time. Technically, you could inspect the function and extract the default value, right? I suppose you could. You know, I hadn't even thought of that. That has a compile time expense. Except you could put it in a run directive and compute it at runtime. That might be crazy enough to be the right way to handle it, honestly. I don't want to do it right now because we're working on animation, but that's not a bad idea. The red guy crosses his arms because the animator made that animation. We don't have the equivalent animation for the wizard yet because we just haven't done that because we didn't have really a system for putting it in. That's all. Why exactly does the red guy idle look weird? Kind of like it's scaling some, because it is just a temporary animation. Like the only point of that animation is to kind of give us the impression of what is happening, right? So that we can tell that the system is working. We're not yet trying to make really good animations. That comes after all this is in and the animator can actually do real work, right? What sort of editor for the animation graphs do you intend on creating, if any? Do you instead plan on relying on text formats? Well, I'm not sure. I think for sure we will have a text format. And then the question is just, does it seem worth it to try and do something graphical? Based on my initial conversations with the animator, probably we do not need a graphical editor necessarily. But I don't know, we might decide that that's a good thing. I'm not sure. Maybe a graphical viewer, if not editor. But, you know, really, there's a lot for me to do on this project. So if I can get him going with a text file and then work on other things, then I'm likely to do that. So probably, you know, like my goal for this stream is I'm going to start doing text file next, and you know, it'll be a hot loaded text file kind of situation. Fixing that console bug. What console bug? I mean, I don't want to do console bugs right now, but I'm not aware of a console bug. Unless you mean something from a really old stream that probably has been fixed. Okay, so now that you've completed what you set out to do, what are your additional goals that you want to try and get done during the stream, if you can? Someone's asking who's the animator. Animator's a dude named Tim who has worked in the game industry for a while. He's a contractor right now, and he did not work on The Witness, but he's working on this game. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start doing the file format. And because all this stuff, this thing right here, so the whole purpose of all this work of putting this into a more data thing rather than a code thing is so that we can, you know, let the animator define this graph himself. But he still can't do that because the graph is defined by this right here, right? We've filled in what all this does and what the runtime does with that information, but it's still defined here. So now the next step is to, instead of this routine, we want to be loading a text file and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying. So, yeah. And I think, since I've been doing a lot of text files lately, I'm going to do a little bit more of an abstraction over text files. So I might just go back to the other file format and add version numbers and then clean that up a little bit and then start doing the new file format. And then we'll do a catalog for it so it's a hot loadable asset and all that good stuff. No, the feature thing I wrote earlier. Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. It's time. So I've done a bunch of small features, and this next demo is like one medium-sized feature. The demo I announced for Saturday. It's like one medium-sized feature and a couple small features. After that, I want to do some more big features. So I don't want to get bogged down in little things. Little things can come later. I want to get the big things because there's only a few big things left. And once those go in, then the language is defined pretty much. And then we can just start iterating on it and making it usable by people besides me, which will be great. It'll be great. Okay. Oh, I still have this old per frame update that I was going to define from before. But, well, okay, let's go back and here, and I'm just going to put this on the top of every single thing. Wizard, warrior, thief, trader, Castaways, last one. Okay, great. Now we got to load the version number because now everything should break. Oh no, it won't break. Because the first line it'll interpret as a name right now, so everything will still work. But let's go put in that version number. Reload assets. So this is now I forget, I think I have, yeah, version success equals to integer line. I have a better, oh yeah, string to int. String to int. Okay. Print animation names file as version whatever, right? So names dot name and version. So we want to see 1 for everybody. There we go. Animation names file warrior has version 1. And now we loaded the wizard. Animation names file wizard has version 1. That's good. This is the night if things working the first time. This is the night. Why is it important to put the version number of the text file in version 1 rather than adding in versions 2+ when you know for certain multiply exist? Because you don't want to make it hard for yourself. It's actually, I mean, it's a little bit easier with a text file than a binary file, but you don't want to end up in a situation where you have to do a lot of weird code to even determine if there is a version number at the top, because maybe the content that might have been there might look like a version number already, right? So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, using a date for a version number can work. It's just I don't tend to care about when the version incremented, because it's not a content ID, right? It's just like, did the file format change is what I want to know. So I tend to only care about the number of which format it is. All right, so like I said, we're about to make a whole other file. So, I want to factor this into You know what, let's do something more robust. If we're going to make this a generalized thing, let's do something more robust. And you know, the thing about that version number that I just did is like a number at the top of the file is like, who knows what the hell that is, right? So let's go here. Let's put it in brackets, right? Because that way, when we see it, we know what we're seeing. We know what we're seeing. Right, so let's go back and we'll say, if assert line.count is greater than 0, if line sub 0 is not equal to this character, expected at the top of file, whatever, it did not get it. Right? And then otherwise we'll advance line by one character. We'll look at the remainder after we print it, and then we'll say if remainder dot count, if no remainder dot count, or remainder 0 is not equal to this character, we'll say expected this after version number in file, but did not get it. Remainder is whatever. Maybe that'll work. Hey, look, it parsed. It has version 1. And the wizard parsed. It's the day of things working the first time. So let's go to all the other ones. Druid. Druid, Bard, Wizard, Cleric. Did I get Castaway? I think I did. Let's see. Sokoban, entry, data, animations. Date modified. Castaway, Cleric, Bard, Moonman, Trader, Warrior, Wizard, Thief. Got them all. Well, oh no, not Thief. Not Thief. All right. Great. Okay. So now we're going to when you update a file to a new version, do you usually do it manually or do you have an automated way to handle it? Usually the reason we put the version number in there is so that we can keep loading the old files after the format changes. So then the code just knows how to load a version 1 file, like what is not contained in a version 1 file that is in a version 2 and so forth. So we don't tend to manually force update the data files unless there's some overarching need to do that for some reason. You know, like sometimes with a certain data format, like you want every mesh in the game to have a certain kind of data there, so you rebuild the meshes or whatever. That's unlikely to happen for these. Okay, so let's go back to names catalog. And I'm gonna make this kind of be my standard text file format. Maybe I can opt into stuff like the version number, but you know, text file handler is going to be a struct, and we're going to say do version number is true. We're going to say remaining file data is a string, and I don't know, we'll see. Version success is true. Okay, so we're going to say handler is text file handler. We have short name is a string, full name is a string. Ooh, sneak peek at a feature, sneak peek. Okay, so we're going to just say start file we're going to call this failed and not success. Start file handler names.full path if handler.failed return handler.log agent equals animation names load. Well, so start file. unable to load file. All right. Let's just see if that works. Semicolon expected. Oh, because you, oh yeah, all right. See, this is an assignment and this is a declaration, and you kind of can't mix those two things right now, which is a slightly awkward thing that happens. Procedure call matches multiple possible overload. What? Oh, free of a string. Really? Why is that matching the void pointer? Let's make this non-polymorphic and see if that helps. I don't know why that helped. All right, undeclared identifier names. Obviously, because we pasted this code in here. Let's change this to full path. Oh boy. Full path, full path. It's not a member of text file handler. Full path. Undeclared identifier file data, because you don't have file data. This is all because we're going to be moving most of this into the handler anyway, but undeclared identifier failed. Oh, you know, yeah. You know what? Here's what we're going to do. We're going to using this. The reason I didn't using this to begin with is these all have the same names, but I'm just going to put an underscore. Whoops. Whoops. All right. All right. Let's see if that works. No. What did we mess up? Animation lookup, unable to. Huh. I broke something pretty badly. I broke it. The night of everything working the first time could not last forever. So this is some kind of like incomplete string problem. Okay, wait. So we start file. I don't know. Are we printing the version number out? I don't see it. I don't see it. So did I? Wait, we set failed to true by default. I hope somebody caught that. It's supposed to be false. I started it out success, which should have been true, and then I changed it to fail, and I didn't change value to Boolean. Hey, look, that was the only problem. Great. All right. Well, that's not so bad. Text file handler, not test file handler, whatever. Okay, so that's fine. And now we're going to lift some of the version number stuff in there. So we're going to say if do version number, then do the following things. We always tell that we failed. We want to replace this. Great. Well, let's see if that works. Undeclared identifier names, line 78. Because it's just full path, it's just full path, it's just full path, it's just full path. Great. Does it run? Yes. Okay. So now we're down to starting the file. So this is parsing related, and this is parsing related. So now we've got it back down to like a much smaller amount of code. And let's get rid of a lot of this at least. I'm not sure I want to make a callback, because one of the features I'm going to do for the next big demo would make this better, but maybe I just wait on that. Let's say that there's a comment character. I'm going to change the eat trailing spaces to here, because I think everybody, so the point will be every line that you get that is not a comment and that is not white space will have the leading and trailing spaces cut, so you don't have to think about that. And then you do whatever you want to each individual line. Okay, that still worked. Great. So here's what I want to do is I want to say, I'm going to put the line number. Well, I'm not using the line number here. I'm going to say, let's put line number here. Where is it? we're going to say consume next line so it's basically going to be like the other consume next line. And I'm just going to say line found is consume next line. Just going to do that for now. It doesn't appear to have been a meaningful win yet, but it will be. Still working. All right, so now we're going to put the white space handling here. Actually, we'll do this. We'll say, while true, if found, well, if not, okay, if not found, return nothing. If bang line, return that. So a line could be not empty, but just have white space, in which case we get rid of it. Same thing. I'll put that in parentheses just for clarity. Okay, wait. No. Sorry. This here we continue. If we just get a line that's full of spaces, we continue. Here we continue, otherwise we return what we got. Right. So then we get rid of this. If we eat trailing spaces, we can't end up with an empty line because otherwise we would have ended up with an empty line here when we ate spaces from the beginning. So that should be the current version. And this is a pretty small, reasonable amount of parsing code for how simple this format is. Of course, we could think of better primitives than like eat until space or whatever, but well, maybe we'll think about that in a minute. Assert line.count. All right. I don't implicitly convert that to bool. Still works. All right. So now we're going to put this in its own file. That's going to go into text file handler. And that works. Now, there is some random text file stuff that ended up in other places. So for example, we have another consume next line that's a lower level routine. Where is that? That's in sampled animation or vars, maybe both. Let's see. Oh, that's a comment. All right. Here it is. So this one we're going to put in here. Eventually, we should migrate all our text formats to using this, or most of them. The ones that are not text binary dual formats, I guess. I don't know, man. All right. Is there anything else? Doesn't look like it. Whoops. That's not bad. Does not line evaluate to false when line is an empty string? Not line evaluates to true when line is an empty string, right? Shouldn't it be line.count is equal to 0? Well, that's the same thing. You could do it either way. If you like saying line.count equals 0, you could do that. Okay. How many lines of code are we up to? 55,879. Oh, we're getting toward 56,000. Still takes 0.625 seconds to compile. All right. And again, that's because most of that time we're waiting for this slow Microsoft linker. That shouldn't have to do anything, but it takes more than half our time. Good chocolate. Black salt caramel bar. Why don't I build an OS for the language I'm building for the game I'm building? It only makes sense. Dude, if I thought I could remotely handle that workload, I would do it. There is no question there. Okay. What am I doing? Oh, let me look. Now that this is pretty simple, well, consume next line should, yeah. All right. I'm going to say I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say tag RHS R break by spaces line, right? That's it. That's all we're doing is we're going down for every line. We're getting the next line. If it exists, break by spaces, which implies that we eat all the extra spaces and then add the copies of those things. Right? Right. So let's go here. Break by spaces. I can also report if there's an error, which I should. Line string. Left is a string and right is a string. So left is line, right is read until space line left dot count minus equals right dot count. Right equals each spaces right. Return left right. So right-hand side of line whatever, so handler.line number, which we're not incrementing yet. And line, or file names.fullpath. Okay, that's pretty good. Consume next line. Didn't say line number. Yeah, I did. Oh, I'm not using. All right. Okay, so that all works. Let's hot load and intentionally make errors in the warrior file. So if we put a thing in here just going bleh and save it, error, right hand side of line 7 of blah 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 is blank, left was, oh. That's not good. Why do I need to, okay. Because I didn't actually put it. I need to put my linter in that checks the arguments. I have 3 arguments and I only passed 2. So bad. All right. Let or tag. All right. This is why we test things. All right. Right hand side of line 7 is blank. Left was blah 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 blah. Great. That's so good. Now we can use that to make a new. Yeah, someone in chat caught my bug. Any questions? We've been going for like an hour and a half. We're in a good spot. I might take like a 10-minute break before I go on because this is a good resting point. Because the next thing is going to be to like make the new file format. What's your favorite file format? Is binary and text files or opinion of JSON and XML? I do not at all like JSON and XML. No, bad, bad. When are you incrementing the line number? Is it reporting the right line and not the next one? Well, anytime that well, let's verify that it's a good point. We should, no matter what my theory is, we should test that it's reporting the proper line numbers. If I go here, and I say, okay, it says right-hand side of line 7. You know, this unable to find asset tag error is not working. We should fix that. So Emacs Oh, Emacs claims this is line 8. Oh, but the reason is that we're not incrementing the line number here for the version number, I don't think. I don't think, like I think we're incrementing it at the right time. It's just, you know, we do this, yeah. See, because this is not this consume next line, it's this one. It gets the very first line of the file, not skipping blank lines or comments, and I don't want to skip blank lines or comments because I want to keep the version starting at the very beginning of the file. Maybe I should allow you to put comments before that, but I don't want to. So we eat this line, we increment the line number. So that should fix it. Now, unable to find asset tag. Let me fix that. That's another instance where I didn't pass enough arguments. See, look. God, I make that so, if I would just sit down and write the damn linter. All right. I've just got too many things to do. That's all. Okay, so warrior, right-hand side of line 8 is blank. Indeed, Emacs has its line 8. Now it's fixed. Has version 1. That's line 11. Emacs says line 11. And if we do that at the beginning, expected blah, blah, blah at the top. Great. So, you know, this is pretty good. Let's get rid of that. Have I thought about how I'm going to implement networking for multiplayer games? I started in network games in 1996, and I wouldn't do things that differently from how we did them back then. We did a pretty good job. I would put more work into it, and the output would be much better because I have a lot more experience, but I wouldn't do anything fundamentally different. All right. Okay. Okay. It's 10-minute break time. someone is saying, random question because of the network question. Have you thought of making a 2+ player puzzle game? Yes, I have. I have thought about that, etc. Okay. The next thing that we are going to do is, and this should be a relatively practical task before the stream is over, we want to be able to load a graph from a file. So if I go to that folder where the warrior file is, right, I'm going to make a human.animation graph, and it's going to have a version number at the top, just like before. And then we're going to start talking about all the nodes and states, and I'm just going to type them in based on what's here. So I'm going to have, I'm going to start my states with a colon and say state inactive, state active, right, state walking, dead, pushing, pulling, A to I to A. All right. So I need, in addition to all these states, I need to be able to say what the animation is. I'm just going to say animation inactive, animation active, animation walking, animation dead, animation pushing, animation pulling, animation active to inactive, animation inactive to active. I don't know if that's a good syntax, right? I don't care yet. I'm just trying to get all the information down into the file. So that's sort of, you know, this part and this part, right? We're going to change this so that we can designate the animation later, I guess. Now, we need to be able to say what happens when we're done. So like for I to A and A to I, we had this thing where when they run out, oh wait. Right. These, okay, sorry, these are the message ones. The messages were go state inactive and go state inactive. We're going to ignore those for a second. Or no, let's do those. What the hell? So if we're in inactive and we get message go state active, takes us to I to A. Right, and same thing. So message go state inactive takes us to A to I. All right, so that takes care of these two lines. And now we just need these, which are the and I'm going to say on state A to I, when done, inactive, O dot to, oh, state inactive. I guess I should make sure that works. Am I counting the blank lines as well? Yes, I'm counting blank lines. Okay. Well, let me add that to source control. All right, so now we're going to go to names catalog, and I'm going to copy that reload asset. And I'm just going to go to graph here. And I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say, I'm going to keep this around because we're going to want to use a header like that later. But for now, I'm going to say load animation graph. Right, and print graph line, whatever line. So we're not actually going to do anything. We're not actually going to load it yet. And we're not going to do any of this because this is all different. Instead of allocating a new graph and returning it, we're going to take a graph, right? So because we want to hot load it, right? And here, because we only call make human animation graph once, after we do all this classic stuff, we just want this load path to get called. So I'm going to say load animation graph on graph and human, and I'm just going to hard code this for now, Sokoban, because this gets supplied by the catalog later when we make a catalog asset, so we can hack it for now. Animations human.animation graph. Okay, let's see what happens. Graph line, we get all these graph lines. Awesome. Okay, so graph line. So we're going to say current node if line sub 0 is equal to a colon, we're starting a new node. Else, if we never started a node, then we say, animation graph load, handler.log agent started getting commands, but we are not yet in a state. Right, so handler.line number and return. Advance line by 1 and node name remainder break, what was it called? Break by spaces line. If remainder, then Oh. Right now, I'm not chopping comments off the right-hand sides of lines. It is slower to do that, but I will make it an option. If remainder log print handler.log agent error in line garbage junk, shorter than junk, on line after node name is junk is whatever. You always want to supply information if you have it. Handler.line number node name remainder return. Okay. Like there are so many programs that just give you a garbage, like an error message that provides no information about what's wrong. It's super infuriating. So anytime that you cannot do that, you're likely to save many people a great deal of time and suffering. Okay, let's go, well, let's say print here, node name, whatever, node name. Otherwise, we'll just print ... That's not a node name, it's just something else, right? Well, I don't see node names. Junk on line after node name. Name is empty. Junk is state inactive. Oh, because, okay. Yeah. Because I advanced it one, but then I didn't cut off any spaces. We're guaranteed to have a line with no spaces on the beginning, but then if I go past the colon, there might be more spaces, folks. Error in line 4. Oh, because, okay, we're not yet in a state. So we got the first node name, but then I didn't set the current node. So I'm going to say add node. So I'm going to say add node graph current node equals add node graph node name blank for animation tag. You know what? This is the point where actually I'm going to check in, because once I start doing this, we're mutating the graph. So I might as well take out the old code so that we get the right graph when we're done, which means the game will be broken until everything works. So, okay, that works. About to break the game for a while. All right, not really a while, but make that big so that we don't miss it. And here, get rid of all this stuff. Actually, as soon as we parse these, well, we need to parse the animation name. And as soon as we do that, we should be pretty good. All right, so otherwise, we get down here and we're going to say, let's do this. Incomplete text file handler has option to strip comments and configurable comment character. Let's not miss that one. Okay, so we're going to say command RHS is break by spaces line. If command is equal to what? What were our commands? They were animation and message, and when done. Case animation, case message, case when done, and the default, in which case we say log print log agent error in line unknown command right? And then we'll just keep processing because that's not really necessarily a parse error. Okay, so incomplete, but as soon as we make animation work, then the game will at least start working a little bit. So then we say animation name remainder is break by spaces of RHS. If remainder, you want lots of good error messages because this is going to be edited by a content person who is not a programmer. So error in line whatever, junk on line after animation tag. Right, handler dot, is it called animation tag? Yeah. Okay, there, you'll see why I'm doing that in a second. Handler.line number, animation tag, junk was whatever. Continue, right? Yeah. So, this is called animation tag, and we're going to say if current node.animation tag, we say attempt to assign animation tag whatever, but animation tag for node whatever was already assigned to whatever. Maybe I can say that in a better order, but I'm just getting the information out. Handler.line number animation tag node.name node.animation tag continue. So you can only set it once per node. Node.animation tag is copy string animation tag. Great. So if that works, we should at least be able to walk around, and we will have lost our transitions because message is what gave us those transitions. But remember, if we don't respond to messages, the thing will force us into default states. So it should kind of work. Oh, not null. Undeclared identifier node, because it's called current node. It's called current node. You'd think I would learn that. Hey, I can walk around and I can push, but the thing that we lost was the going into idle. So like this thing, yeah. So see now he's not. It might be a sort of a finer point, but see he's not playing an arm folding animation. He's just interpolating, like his arms are going straight in like whoop. That's because we're not processing that message to go to that other animation state. So we're just lerping. We're just lerping. We're just LARPing. Yeah, so copy string gives you a new copy of the string using the default allocator, which is a heap allocator, unless you override that with something else. Okay, so if it's message, then we want two things. So for example, so then we say state name, or no, message name, and then, well, let's do this. And then state name, remainder, break by spaces, message, RHS. Then we're going to do another junk online, if remainder, junk online after target state name. Junk was blah, blah, blah. Well, let's not even continue because we got a state name. But what's more serious than that is if state name missing name of target state, right? And that, I guess, will continue. And we also could be so far missing name of message to intercept, right? Okay. If we got all that, then we want to add arc, right? Add arc, graph, comma. I hope I store those by name. Let me see. Add arc, graph, comma. Oh, dough. Dough. Okay, well, we have a problem. We're going to have to post-process this. We're going to do things a little differently. So the thing is, we're processing this file in order, and we define all these states, but, here I'm jumping to a state that's not defined yet, right? It's defined down here. So we are going to have to store it as a temp string for a while, and then post-process it. That's fine. So message name and state name. All right. And then at the end, what was that? While true, right? And then we say post-process graph. Well, yeah. Because we only get here if we didn't return with an error. And then, so we need add arc that takes a string now instead of destination. Name is a string. Copy string, destination name. Let's just well, Instead of state name, let's call it destination name. Target node. Trying to use consistent terminology. Okay, and then destination name is the second argument. And message name is the third argument. Okay, so the rest of that is going to stay as it is. Except that. And here we have destination name is a string set from destination name in post process. All right, so post process. We do the following for node graph.nodes for arc node.arcs. We do the following. We have a way to look up the name. Yeah, we have find node. Assert arc.destination name. Other node is find node graph and arc.destination name. Let's call it destination. If thing destination. Well, if destination, else do something else. If destination, arc.destination equals destination. Otherwise, log print animation graph post process. See, ideally, later on, if I want good error messages, I got to store the line number where this happened. Okay, so animation graph post process says attempt to add an arc going to a node named whatever, but that node does not exist, and arc.destination name. That all seems reasonable. Arcs is not, oh, right. And I need to break this into a routine, so post process arc. All right. Now we'll just find this here. Because I need to do node.messageArcs, and I also need to post process arc on node.whenDone. All right. So then I don't know. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Type mismatch. Wanted bool. Oh. I need to make my assert have a laxer coercion to bool. But of course that needs to be a language feature, and it's a minor feature, and I don't want to do any more minor features yet until I do more major features. Attempt to use variable from an outer stack frame. Yes, we must pass it. Incompatible structs wanted animation node. Give an animation graph, all right? That's fine. Current node. Right, and we know current node is not null because we checked for that. So I screwed up my message name or something. Error in line 5, junk online after target node name, junk with state I to A. Let's look. I have a feeling my parsing is just broken. Line 5. After target node name. All right, what's going on? So message name, message RHS. All right, destination name, remainder breaks. Okay, hold on. Right, so I need to use RHS here, not line. Line is the original line, which includes this message word, and we don't want to include that. Okay, well, that appeared to load. We're walking around. Hey, look, he folded his arms. So now, if you remember in the earlier stream, we're back at that same point where, because we haven't added the when done arcs, now these guys are just looping, right? So now we just have to go back and do that. So we're in good shape. Where's our when done? All right, when done. When done. Os. Okay. When done. We're going to do a similar thing that we did here, where we're going to say a time amount and okay. So this is going to be destination name, destination RHS, right? Is break by spaces of the right hand side. And then we just figure out the time. Time string remainder is break by spaces destination RHS. And then if remainder after time string. But we continue processing the line if we can. Now, okay, add arc. Arc is add arc, current node, destination name with no message name. And then if we got a time string, then we want to set second success is equal to some kind of int parsing function of time string. If success arc.outro time equals seconds, else blah. if success, if seconds is less than 0, log print handler.log agent error in line whatever, time value cannot be less than 0, it is set to whatever, handler.line number, and seconds success equals false. All right. All right. If we didn't get success, we say unable to parse the outro time as if floating point number in seconds. The string is handler.line number and time string. So now I just need to do this. So what? I know I have ways to, oh yeah, string to float, which I have lots of prognostications about the right way to do it. I'm already handling the remainder. Well, okay, because we can have a remainder. All right. We need to have yet another junk check, but that's okay. Well, let's do it here. Destination time string. Because our float parser will also check for characters after the float that we didn't want. And so we don't need to do it by spaces. All right. So we're going to say seconds success remainder is string to float time string if remainder blah, blah, blah. Arc.field was outro time. A non-namespace type? What are you talking about, Willis? Add arc. Oh, it's returning void. Right? That's weird. Like, I let you assign something to void right now. It's kind of weird. Hey, he's not repeating anymore. Oh, that was bad. That was bad. What's going on there? Oh, I must have just made a typo in the file. So when I go inactive, I'm in inactive. And I'm going inactive to active. And I want my when done to go to active, but my when done is going to inactive, I bet. Right? Yep. Yep, I called it. I can't hot load this yet, so I got to restart. Hot loading will come soon. All right. That's good. That's good. Perfect. 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 You want to know how to write a game engine? This is how. So now we have our file. I mean, I'm going to check this in, and then I'm going to start doing all my dangling comments here. We're going to paste that one less because that one comes later. Any questions? Any questions? log print for unknown command is missing an argument. Man, I do that so often. Let's see. Let's see what you're talking about. Unknown command. Yes. Yes, indeed. Handler.line number. I need to write that linter again. I need to write that linter. I need to write that linter. How long have I worked on this game? I don't know. I mean, I started it about a year ago, or a little more than a year ago. But I've been working on the compiler a lot of that time. I've been doing witness stuff some of that time, so it's not very clear. Certainly less than half that time has been spent on the game. It's probably a couple months total, honestly. Have I tried 4Coder? No, I haven't. Not seriously. I tried it once for like 10 minutes, and it didn't render correctly on my high-res screen way back then. So I was like, I'll wait till later to try it for real. I'll wait to try it for real. How would I describe my coding style? I don't know. What does it look like, man? You describe it. I don't want to describe it. What would you consider to be the opposite of your coding style? Modern C++. Do you use a text file format for the puzzles in this game? No. There's an editor. So for example, I can open the editor and go here and grab dudes and move them. And you know, I demoed this in the Croatia talk, if you have seen that, right? So I can like rotate crap and, you know, whatever. It's all good. How many compiler bugs have I found making Silkabon? I don't know, substantial number. Believe me, there's no end to compiler bugs. How do you decide when something merits moving into data files like you did for these animation graphs? That sort of thinking just leads me to end up wanting to write a scripting language. Well, this is a very specific thing. It's for a specific purpose, which is that the animator wants to express a certain kind of thing very specifically. If you give him a general scripting language, that's kind of crappy because he's not a programmer, right? He wants something very constrained that'll do what he needs. So that's why this is a thing. How do you go about learning math for games? Do you learn theory or just how to apply math in games? Do you learn any proofs? I can hear after the proofs. The way I learn math for games is that I figure out what I need to do for the game I'm trying to make, and then I'm highly motivated to learn that specific math, and it's not an abstract exercise anymore, and that always works best for me. Is there a place to submit bug reports for the witness? I don't know, you could do the Steam forum or something, but usually if you're trying to submit a puzzle bug report, like this puzzle is wrong, don't bother, because like everybody who's ever done that was wrong and the puzzle is fine. But if it's a legit bug report, like it crashes in a certain situation or whatnot, then go for it. What do I think about Vulkan versus OpenGL? I don't know. I haven't used Vulkan. I strongly dislike OpenGL, but it sounds to me like Vulkan is the wrong thing also. I don't know. I haven't used it. I'm waiting for my tea to warm up. Okay, option to strip comments is one of our big things to do. That is another thing to do. Junk animation tag. We'll do that one first. So add node now is not going to take an animation tag because we add the animation tag later. In post process, we want to report if someone doesn't have an animation tag. Okay, so post process. If node.animation tag error node whatever does not have a primary animation tag. Alright, well that's fine. It's not going to result in any different visible behavior. Let's do this. Let's do this fix. So let's make a test case for it. Like, right? There's no such state. So we get an error message. State.a told us to switch to animation tag but we could not find a binding. Now it might be easy to search for this, but if it's a subtle typo, it might not be so easy. Let me get my tea. And then we'll do it. Okay. Error in line, whatever. You know what? I'm going to need to make a helper function for all these because I'm not saying which file these are happening in. And, well, I don't know. We'll worry about that later. Because right now there's only going to be one state file, but later there might be many. But I'll deal with it at that time. So arc.destination name line number. So destination name line number is an int. Right destination name equals line number equals line number, add arc. Name handler.line number message name. Whoops, destination name. Okay. Boom. Oh, wait, I did the wrong error message. What error message did I? Attempt to add a when done arc. No. It was this one. Attempt to add an arc going to a node named whatever, but that node does not exist. Okay, we don't hit this error. I'm going to leave it in for potential future code change robustness errors, but we hit a different error. Told us to switch to animation tag, whatever. Why do I not hit this error? Because this one comes much later. Doesn't it? Told us switch to node. So weird. Oh wait. That's not the node name, that's the animation tag. All right. I was trying to debug the node names. So confusing. Maybe we want to use capital numbers for the node names or something. Okay, so there. Let's see if that gives us a line number error message. Okay, error in line 25, attempt to add an arc. Okay, good, that's what I wanted. And that's line 25. Great. Let me I just want to try to make these, whoops. Okay, well. I want to make these look a little different because if everything is a bunch of lowercase blah, 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 then this will be a good test because I'll probably make a mistake. I'm going to have to edit this in code as well. Okay. I mean, these names are probably all going to change again, but whatever, man. Did I not mess it up? Wow, all right. Uh-oh. Oh, I hit the wrong. What? Why can't I change off this level? Maybe I did screw something up and it's... Why? Oh, I can all of a sudden. My keyboard like wasn't working. That was weird. All right. Nothing huge, I just found a few places in the witness where walking is not smooth. My guess is the geometry is weird in a few spots. Yeah, there isn't a way to turn on debug visualizations. Depending on which version of the game you have, we may have fixed some of those since then. We're aware of them. It's just, it's not as easy of a problem as you would think. The PC version actually is kind of old at this point. We want to update it, but we need to do a lot of testing on it before we update it so that we don't break the game. Would the animator notice those log prints? Well, what's going to happen is, like right now he might not, but eventually we're going to display them in a very prominent way so that he will catch them, yes. What is my limit switching case manually before doing a regex replace? Pretty high, because I can never do regex replaces in Emacs successfully. Like the syntax is so messed up that like it always goes wrong and like matches 0 things for mysterious reasons, and then it takes me an hour to figure out what the right regex is. Have you ever found learning the abstract parts of math useful? You've said that Linear Algebra Done Right is a great book. It seems to be more of an abstract math book than applied math. It actually is very applied, but it may be hard for you to not understand why it's applied math if you haven't worked a lot in code for linear algebra, right? Linear algebra done right doesn't look applied because it's not like big columns of matrix numbers and whatever, right? But actually, when you're trying to figure out what code to write to do some geometric operation, it actually helps you tremendously to think of vectors as being just geometric entities and not numeric entities. It helps, at least for me, it helps me visualize them and write the correct code, and it's all good. So I recommend that. I recommend reading that book and taking it very seriously. But it might help, you know, it might not be the best first intro to linear algebra, maybe. I don't know. Do I have the obligatory need better hash function comment in my code? No, I don't. It's Canuckles is here. All right. All right. I'm starting to get a little tired, but he's been streaming a lot today. But we're making good progress. This can go away now. Wow, that's so old. All right. So let's do this comment thing. So first, let me do this. This state is very interesting. This should generate us a parse error on that line because we're not handling that. Yep. Junk on line after node name. Name is then junk is blah, blah, blah. Okay. Now, first, I'm not sure that I like this hash as comment character always. So let's go to the text file handler and we'll say comment character is this by default, but you could change it. And that is comment character. And in addition to do version number, we'll have strip comments from lines. From ends of lines. So, you know, right now we strip comments that are, if you switch this to false, things might be slightly faster, but All right. So, consume next line. If strip comments from lines, else we do this old chestnut. And I believe I have from left, yes. Point is find character from left line, comment, character. If point, well, if found, then line.count minus equals, let's call this RHS. For right hand side, RHS.count. And we'll if line.count is equal to 0, continue. Right? Because we had non-space characters on the left. So if that was a hash, we'll do it. Yeah, okay. Let's see what happens. I messed something up. Strip comments from lines is on handler. Really? From ends of lines. Comment character. Still, junk on line after node name. That is interesting. Print. What the hell just happened? And RHS is this. Let's just see if it even found that. It did. Except it's... What? Maybe this found isn't what I'm thinking it is. Well, comment, let's make sure this works. Handler dot 35. I don't know. Sounds about right. 35 is hash. 35. Okay, so we're good. Well, what am I doing? Find character from left should be a pretty simple function. Cursor is 0 while cursor is less than a count is return substring. Oh, geez. It returns the left part, not the right. That's weird. I seem to keep getting confused about what find character from left returns. It returns the left-hand side, but I seem to expect it to return the right-hand side like stir char in C does. Okay, whatevs. If found, LHS, no, line equals LHS. That's why it returns a Boolean, because it could return empty. Hey, look, we got no parse error anymore. So that's great. I should get rid of this subversion output at some point, but I have to like pipe it to null or something to do that, and that's annoying. Let me get rid of that address printout. Every little victory. All right, so commit. Text file handler strip submitted line comments. How's things going in the chat? Someone's talking about these statues. Yeah, these are temporary. Like this, these guys are, they're not real yet. Don't worry about it. I agree that the knees look weird, yes. I agree with that fully. Okay. Now, I'm getting tired, but what other things do we have to do? Reset graph so we could hot load. Text file, oh, I did that. So I guess hot loading is next, guys. Isn't that great? All right, well, let's start with that. So, I'm going to say animation graph catalog is do I want to record dirty assets? I'm not sure. Type catalog animation graph. That's fine. We're going to put another incomplete. We need to do some robustness handling for when graphs are hot loaded, matching each entity's old state to the new state by name, probably. In developer mode. Make another big one of those. Okay, so we have catalog. Let's go to main. Let's say animation graph catalog is an animation graph catalog. I don't know that will do anything there. So the whole thing, so what the catalog is it just lets us load many assets by name and also is a good interface to the hot loader. And when things are packaged for release, it's a good interface to the packaging system, right? So right now, we hard-codedly load one animation graph, but this is going to enable us to load many animation graphs and request them from general purpose code without hard-coding the file name and all this stuff. All this stuff. So we don't do anything there yet. We add that to all catalogs. Once we add that to all catalogs, other stuff should happen automatically. Well, okay, so we made that stuff. We don't actually use the graph catalog yet. But let's do that. So, well, let's start doing this. So, the extensions is so like the file system knows what it handles. It's called animation graph, right? Yeah. Animation graph. And do polymorphic inits, we just always need to do. Didn't like that. Oh, because we're not using, we gotta start using. Whoa. Oh, because, okay. So, anytime you make a catalog, there's a couple methods you need to define, and one of them is make placeholder. And one of them is reload asset. So make placeholder. And that is just, because we're being dumb right now, is just return graph. And then reload asset is this. Well, I guess we're going to back all the way out to the following. Find animation graph catalog, comma, human. Hopefully that works. So this is going to be a graph catalog and graph pointer to animation graph and reset graph. So these are sort of the API. All this other stuff like add node, that's like file scope now. It goes down there. Send message, I guess we need externally. Okay, so that was one thing moved to file scope. All right. Boom. So, what did I even just do? Right, I'm making the catalog. So we need to make placeholder. We need a reload asset. Let's have those next to each other because those are our catalog methods. And I need to make a reset function for graph. Call it graph. Loaded. Oh, yeah. Okay. So we need our common things. So if you look at names catalog, we have name, full path, and loaded, which probably should be in some kind of common struct or in some C++ concept style thing, so that we get a much less ambiguous error message about what the hell is going on. Members needed by all catalog assets. Okay, undeclared identifier name. Undeclared identifier name. Line 59. Why? Oh, because I just changed the routine. Start file. Graph.name. And then full path is what? Graph.fullPath. Well, let's just say is that even going to work? No. Oh, and it just crashes nowhere. Like we have no idea what's going on. Wow. Well, it might be time to bust out the debugger so we can tell where it crashes. Hopefully. I haven't compiled the LLVM in a long time. See if that even works. Okay. It compiled the LLVM. It took longer. That's how you know. Still crashes. I should put in a crash panic handler that walks the stack. So you don't need to run the debugger necessarily to know where it crashed, but I haven't done that yet. Start. Crash. Call stack. Send message. Why is it giving me assembly? Anyway, go to source code. So I guess the graph is null. Locals, M is null, man. M is null. Why is M null? Oh, because I said find, because I'm dumb. So with catalogs, you have this find method. But I don't want that. I want find. Wait, what is it? Now maybe it is. Maybe find does create. No, it returns null. Why am I forgetting how to use my catalogs that I use all the time? No? What? This is how you know I'm really tired right now. Oh, okay, right. This works differently than the catalogs in the earlier engines, which is why I'm confused. So we should always find something in the table. If we didn't, that means that something really bad happened. So let's go to this. assert graph is not equal to null. That's going to trip. That's going to trip, dude. Right? Yeah. So this is weird because it means that we didn't find a thing called human.animationGraph. Am I missing another? What? What? Oh. Graph. Dot name is copy string short name. Graph dot full path is copy string full path. Graph dot load is false. That's fine. Probably don't need to set that. So if you don't put these things on the asset, that may not work. Hey, look, we loaded. Except we kind of didn't. Okay, we're not resetting the graph, but then some other states don't exist now? How did that happen? It's fine though, we're getting there. I mean, I don't know why I broke those things, but okay. So this, so I am not pestered by that, can just come out here. So this is just going to say human animation graph equals find this stuff. Assert that that is not null. Okay, so now for some reason, why are we resetting the, oh no, we only print this 6 times. Why are we not loading it anymore correctly? That's weird. That's weird. I wouldn't have thought that I changed very much, but apparently I broke something when I moved that routine. Okay. What the heck? Let's write the reset, because even though things don't work, let's just do that. So for nodes, reset it, delete it, array reset nodes. We don't screw with the name and full path and all that stuff. So it's really just the nodes, right? So let's define reset node, and delete when done. Delete for message arcs. Delete it. Array reset message arcs, even though that we don't really need to do that, whatever. Because we're about to lose that node in all cases anyway. Free name, this is a using. Free name, free animation tag. So, Yeah, fine. I'll just make a destructor on arc. I'm being a little bit inconsistent in how I'm doing this, but whatever. Destructor x goes to free x.destination name, free x.message. All right. Maybe I won't break something when we hot load. Okay, so we're still not loading correctly, but that's no surprise because I did nothing to fix that. Well, when I do load, what the hell is happening? It's obviously loading the transition, so I guess I'm messing up the state names. I wonder if I'm just not copying the state name and it only happened to work before for luck reasons. Let's see. I bet that's what's happening. Node name. Add node. No. We copy the string. Print. Adding node, whatever node name. Let's get this off LLVM, man. State inactive, state active, state walking. Am I resetting it after for some reason? This goes here. Let's get off LLVM for now. So we reset, then we add the nodes, and then we don't find them. State I to A, it's right there. That's weird. So let's dig into that even more. Find node. See if those are garbagey somehow. Let's get off that. Thank you, LLVM, for helping me debug, but I want faster compile. All right, so whoa, yeah, I'm setting the name to the wrong thing. I'm setting the node name to be the graph name. It's another one of those problems where I have the same field of the same type. It's because I switched something to a using again. Right? So add node. Oh, yeah, I changed the oh, this used to tell me that I shadow a parameter when I'm using, and it doesn't anymore. That's weird. So, the following no longer gives me an error that I am shadowing a parameter with a using. All right, well, that's not great. That used to work, but you know, I changed a lot of things in the compiler and whatever. All right. Hey, all right. It all works. And we have a hot loadable asset now, in theory. Let me get rid of these prints. So, well, Or the hot loader should tell us when we hot load. All right, so let's get rid of that. This one, I mean. Okay, so let's see what we can do. Let's do that whole dead. Well, I don't know. What do we do? When we go inactive and we're active, instead of this, let's go to state dead. Oh, all right. Well, something. Probably my reset procedure did something bad. That's my guess. We may bust out LLVM again in a second. Let's do this for a second. See what happens. Narrow it down. Okay, well, let's see if this hot loading works, and then we'll debug that. All right, so when I'm active and go inactive, right now I fold my arms. And let's switch it to dead. So it did hot load, I guess. I don't know, did it? I don't see more hot load notifications. Oh, but that might be the logger deduplicating them. All right, so, oh yeah, oh, look at that. Look at that. And then if we want them to stop dying, we come back here. And now they're not dying anymore. So that's basically complete victory. I just have to fix my memory leak by figuring out why my guys aren't destructing. Someone is asking, how fast are the performance gains of a compiled program for your CPU against a program compiled for every CPU? I don't know what you mean by every CPU. There isn't really such a thing as a program compiled for every CPU. So I need to know more what you're asking. So I decided I definitely want to do handmade compiler, but I want to do it in the new language here. And I want to do it at a time when people can follow along because they have their own copy of the compiler and stuff. Or the copy of the compiler for this language, right, and can mess with it. And the reason I want to do it in the new language is just because I think the code, first of all, I'll have more fun, but also I think the code will be shorter and cleaner and easier to understand. And we'll really be able to get to the important issues quickly. So that is the current plan for handmade compiler, is that first, the language becomes available to people, and then we do it. Would I recommend to go through the questions in linear algebra done right? Sure, I mean, why not? Why not? Okay, now, I did not do a good job of cleaning up my things. So let's go back there, and what if we just delete the nodes without calling reset? Right, that probably might work. I don't know. Yeah, we're still running. All right, well, let's put a destructor on the nodes, because that'll be a little cleaner. Maybe. Well, maybe not. I mean, while we're debugging, I don't know. So a node has a name, it has an animation tag. Those are hopefully, that doesn't seem bad. Deleting when done doesn't seem bad. For message arcs, delete it doesn't seem bad. Unless it's in the arc destructor, but I don't know. Let's try that. Oh, did I? Yeah. I'm so confused about what I'm doing right now. Okay, I want to see that visible, and then I want to well, that crashed it, but that, oh, yeah, we don't, oh, right. Ooh. That's the thing is, if I reset the graph, line 198. So I don't, that was not a memory crash. That was a crash because the graph didn't have anything in it. And we have this hot load problem because I got an error on the first line of the graph. Yeah, so I'm just going to make this a more attentive thing. And I don't think that's going to get fixed tonight. I think that's tomorrow or maybe after the weekend, depending. Okay, well, it looks like because this delete procedure is new and stuff, I don't actually know. So possibly I'm doing something dumb in the delete when done and possibly elsewhere. Possibly it doesn't work. Delete. Huh. I guess. Right. So if it has a oh God. Really, I should do that. I think that was the problem. Is my destructor, my generalized delete routine, which I just wrote like a couple weeks ago. If there's a destructor, it'll call it on a null pointer if you pass a null pointer, and that's no good. So I believe that was the problem. I don't think it was user error. Not this user error anyway. So let's. Okay, that saved. That saved. Okay, let me just go back and fix all this. All right, so now we're running the full destructo, and it was fine to begin with. The problem was in delete. So let's go here, and we're crossing arms and stuff, but we hot load and we die. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And then we hot load again to fix it. Yeah, yeah. That might be everything I want to do tonight. I might be done, folks, because the next step would be robustness against hot loading. So making sure we don't assert because you have an index that's out of range if you deleted all these and then hot loaded or got a syntax error in the middle of the file. And then making sure that guys who are playing animations stay in that same node, and then whatever else even we need that I haven't even thought about. So this is a good position to be in. Like, the basic functionality is all here, and it's just to see what comes next. So, questions? So the line number comparisons that were given in chat about Sokoban versus Braid and the witness are vaguely right. The problem is that the Sokoban line count, which you can see every time I compile it, which is here, oh, we're over 56,000 now. That includes blank lines and comments, whereas the witness and Braid numbers do not include blank lines and comments. And also, I recently went through Braid and cleaned up a bunch of the code, and I got it to like something in the 60,000 range. So, you know, that I did that last year. And witness, I don't even know. All right, everybody. Oh. Last stream I said 2 million lines per second was not unreasonable. Is that based on some calculations, an estimation of something you can optimize a current compiler or something else? Well, it was, I think somebody brought up 2 million lines a second as a number I was throwing around a long time ago, which I probably did, right? I've been thinking in the millions of lines per second for a long time, so I probably gave that figure at some point. Right now, if you subtract the link time and you divide out the time, we're in the 200,000 lines per second range. But we're barely using all the cores, or we're not using most of the cores most of the time. And for example, this machine, I believe, has 6 physical cores. And if you use hyperthreads, that's 12 cores, right? So if you got perfect parallelism, you could get a factor of 12. Now, perfect parallelism isn't very difficult. So, you know, if you could parallelize, you could get that factor of 10 right away. Also, though, there's really, even in single-threaded performance, a great deal that can be done to speed up this compiler. So between those two things, if we could get a factor of 5 out of parallelism and a factor of 2 out of single-threaded optimization, that's a factor of 10. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think 2 million lines is unreasonable. That said, really squeezing on the parallelism is hard for the compiler, for the way it's going to be set up. So that may not happen until later in development. So, you know, I think we're in the hundreds of thousands of line range in around release time, or initial release, and then we'll be working on increasing the performance after that. Josh is working on the compiler. I don't know what he thinks about the language. We haven't talked about that a lot. Have I written text parsers, etc.? Symbols makes no sense. Oh, you're talking to someone else in the chat, maybe? Obviously, I've written text parsers. Are you able to give hints about the next big feature you have in mind after the medium feature? The next big feature has something to do with polymorphism, and it'll do iterators better. And it'll do other things too. That's the hints. Yeah. Iterators are going to be awesome after this next thing. Not awesome in a modern C++ way, but in a practical programming way. At least that's the hope. I haven't implemented the feature yet, so we have to see. Why is there a conversation on compiler speed? Because even though I'm working on a game right now, this game is written in a new programming language that I'm also working on. And so it's a very proximal topic to the work on this game. Right? So this engine that I'm working on is in the new language. All right, everybody. Good night. We'll stream again soon.